Good morning. My name's Vivian, you can call me Viv, and I'm leading the service this morning. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. Welcome to any visitors we have here today. Just to let you know, January is when our minister, Clay Nelson, takes a well-deserved break. So we are lay-led at the moment, which means I'm a member of the congregation. Please stay after the service to share a cup of tea with us, have a chat. Now we're going to move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all of its forms. One of the benefits of leading a service is you can choose the hymns. So this next one is a hymn. When I came here 23 years ago, this was a hymn they used to probably play probably 3 times a month. So I had a look at it and I got fascinated and I did a bit of a Google who wrote it. And the words and the music were written by a guy called Norbert Kapek. It's a Czech name, so I'm sure I haven't probably said it right. What an interesting guy. He was born in Czechoslovakia. He was born as Roman Catholic. He became a Baptist preacher before moving to the USA, where he faced 2 heresy trials from the Baptists who tried to kick him out of the Baptist church. But thankfully, he and his wife found a home in a Unitarian church. Together, they decided to bring Unitarianism back to their homeland, newly independent after World War I. They returned to Prague in 1921. They formed a congregation in Prague called the Liberal Religious Fellowship. And each worship service generally consisted of lectures. The minister wore no robe or vestments. The congregation dispensed with elaborate rituals, singing of hymns, ornate decoration, and formal or prescribed prayers. But some members of the congregation felt it lacked a spiritual dimension. In response, Norbert created the flower celebration, or flower communion. Each member would bring a flower to the church, where it was placed in a large central vase. At the end of the service, each would take home a different flower. This symbolised the uniqueness of every individual and coming together in communion to share this uniqueness. Why I'm telling you all this is that we have that flower communion every year, every summer, and this is Norbert who created it. So I found him just absolutely fascinating. So Norbert's wife was also ordained as a minister. And with help from the UU in America and Britain, they set up a church in Czechoslovakia. My opening words come from Martin Gienke, he's a British Unitarian minister. We come together in this place from many directions, following a myriad of routes and roads of life. To get to this point, from here we will go our different ways, in different directions. May our time together for this hour strengthen us and our resolve to travel the right road on the trail of truth. As we speed on, let us not forget our fellow travellers, to stop and help if they've fallen, to guide them wisely if they're lost, to encourage them on their own journey. May our onward journey be as challenging and as exciting as that so far. And my words for the chalice lighting come from Deborah Ford. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is a symbol of all this within each of us. Just before we start the Time for All Ages, I also did a Google on that hymn, Spirit of Life, and found that it's it's probably the most well-known and loved hymn, and written by Carolyn McDade, I think. It is our Unitarian Amazing Grace. Many congregations sing it every Sunday, like us, and know the song words by heart. Even sermons have been devoted to this song. In the US, there's an adult religious education curriculum based on that song. It's sung at weddings, memorial service, around campfires, and at demonstrations, at cradles and hospital bedsides. In 6 short lines, Spirit of Life touches so much that's central to our faith: compassion, justice, community, freedom, reverence for nature, and the mystery of life. It finds the common ground held by humanists and theists, pagans and Christians, Buddhists and Jews, gay and straight among us. So it's lovely that we do sing that every week. Right. As I said, I'll start with a Unitarian joke. At a great international interfaith gathering at a major convention hotel, 5 delegates found themselves waiting and waiting for the elevator following one of the sessions. To break the monotony and silence, one of the delegates suggested they play a little game. Let's see if we can explain our faith in the time it takes the elevator to go up from here to the first floor. Although they would have to travel up and down several times, the delegates agreed. On the trip down from the 10th to the first floor, the Roman Catholic delegate volunteered to go first. He recited the Apostles' Creed and finished just as the doors opened on the lobby. Next, it was the Hindu delegate's turn. Pressing the button, she began. We Hindus believe in the great wheel of life. All is a cycle, and what has been will be again. It is for us to understand our place in this turning, to do what falls to us to do, and to celebrate our place in the scheme of existence. Like the Roman Catholic, she was finished long before the elevator reached its destination. Now it fell to the Zen Buddhist delegate to press the button for the 10th floor. All waited eagerly for him to begin, but there was only silence as the car travelled the 10 floors. When the doors opened, they asked the Zen Buddhist, "Why did you not say anything to us about your belief?" He replied, "In saying nothing, I said all that there is to say." The Interfaith Conference delegates scratched their heads, then looked to the Unitarian delegate, the last to take a turn. The elevator doors closed and she reached out to push the button. All were surprised when she pushed 2. "Why did you not push the button for the lobby?" they asked. "Because," the Unitarian delegate replied, "there's a great little coffee shop on the 2nd floor where we can kick back and really discuss this." Yeah, you can see why I like the joke, because it describes a lot about what we're like. And I imagine they all went to that coffee shop to discuss all the ways, that what their faith means to them. And I'm sure they had a great debate. The title of my talk is Pick and Mix Religion, but I'd like to use the religion and spirituality interchangeably To many people, religion's become a dirty word associated with what they imagine to be oppressive, conservative, and dead or dying institutions, whereas spirituality is often equated with a highly individualistic pick-and-mix attitude to the full treasury of global religious philosophy and practice. My definition of religion or spirituality is that it's an individual's hunger for truth and her willingness to step forward in faith. This personal quest can be informed by a variety of things, but principally by the individual's conscience, my response to the natural world, and the wisdom from all religious and spiritual traditions. In Steve Bruce's book, Religion in Modern Britain, From Cathedral to Cult, he wrote about how the British were not becoming any less religious, but were instead moving to a place where they picked and chose the parts of religion that appealed to them most. Dubbed the pick-and-mix approach to religiosity, it was seen to herald a move away from institutional forms of religion to those that were more diversified. That sounds very Unitarian to me. But Jeremy Hardy in The Guardian offered a more cynical reading. He said, people who have generally humane and just ideas frequently select the better of their chosen creed whilst being somewhat embarrassed about the bits that involve minor offenders being stoned to death and women forced to menstruate outside. Okay, well, this meaning of pick-and-mix religion seems to imply that you can remain a member, say, of the Roman Catholic Church and enjoy the ritual and just ignore the stuff you don't like. But I can't agree with this, as that's exactly the reason I became a Unitarian in the first place. I was brought up an Anglican and was sent to an Anglican boarding school where I just couldn't agree with it, a lot of what I was told to believe in. I joined the choir and I loved the singing, and we had a very liberal, I think he was called a priest, minister, and he was a lot of fun. But I just a lot of the teachings just didn't make sense and really annoyed me. They just weren't logical. So recently it got me thinking about the term pick and mix in relation to Unitarianism. Are we a pick and mix religion? And if so, is it a good or bad thing? Most Unitarians are comfortable borrowing bits and pieces from many different religious traditions. Our hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, combines readings from Buddhism, Sikhism, Taoism, Native American spirituality, Islam, Hinduism, the Old and New Testaments, and secular humanism. So it's hardly surprising that there's an old joke about Unitarians, how they begin their prayers, to whom it may concern. But from this theological stew has arisen a highly rational and elastic philosophy that is rooted in Christianity, yet it rejects the Trinitarian nature and divinity of Jesus, which is fanatical about individual rights, but stresses the good and welfare of the collective. A questioning faith that vigorously eschews dogma, statements of belief in hidebound traditions in favour of seeking truth from the human experience with nothing more than the free use of reason and maybe a sense of adventure. All beliefs can be questioned, examined, accepted, modified or rejected. Truth with a capital T is repudiated. The beliefs of old are traded for what probably can be boiled down to a central tenet. Think as you must, then say what you really believe. This sounds like we really are a pick and mix religion, doesn't it? And I'm really happy with that. I'm comfortable with that. However, I see two different meanings, again, which I mentioned before, for pick and mix religion. One, where you can pick and choose the best bits and pieces from many different religious traditions, pretty much like we do here at Unitarians. The other meaning is where you may belong or attend to more than one religious organisation. I know there are some of us in our congregation that belong to more than one spiritual organisation, such as the Quakers, Humanists, even some Christian churches. This could also be called pick and mix religion. So you can see there's kind of two views of that term. A few years ago, Yoss and I spent a week in Japan, which was so fascinating. I'd love to go back sometime and learn more about the culture in the country. And I've read a little bit about their attitude to religion, and afterwards our Japanese friend over here, he might correct me if I'm wrong. Apparently the Japanese are not really that religious amidst the presence of several religions and beliefs. Compared to all other countries where you'll see Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Jews or Buddhists who are very devoted and passionate about their respective religions, the majority of the Japanese population could not be considered as devoted. In fact, the Japanese society and the government is not even pushing Shinto or any specific faith. In Japan, it's common to see individuals who participate in a mixture of practices from different religions, pick and mix. For example, one person's birth rituals can be done in the Shinto way, their baptismal and weddings the Christian way, and their death ceremonies through the Buddhist tradition. And maybe they pick and mix in other ways too. Japanese experts explain that religion is no longer a significant part of their daily living in the country today. Instead, the Japanese are more interested in participating or observing the ritual ceremonies and specific activities of religions. Certain rituals like Christian weddings, Christmas, Chinese New Year, Halloween, the Buddhist Festival of the Dead, they're all celebrated in the country regardless of their religion. In fact, the Yuletide season is a big celebration, even for the Shinto and Shinto priests. So, as Western influences on food, fashion, customs, including religion, have reached the country, the Japanese people have welcomed and adapted to them. Their major religion and oldest religion is Shinto. The religion's practice belief in multiple gods, and much of its teachings are intertwined with nature and the elements like the wind, water, and sun. Children being born may undergo Shinto birth rites, but as they grow and are already able to discern, they are free to choose or follow any religion, or in Japan's case, observe any ceremony, ritual, or celebration. I like this attitude. I really like this attitude, Japanese attitude to religion, because one of the most aggravating tenets of mainstream religions like Islam and Christianity is that their God and their religion is right and all the others are wrong. However, I do also like having a religious community. And for me, I don't think the Japanese thing will be enough. But then again, that is fitted to their culture, and what we do is fitted to our culture. In a Sufi story, the famous mullah Nasruddin is to judge a case between two men who are quarrelling. After listening to the first one tell his story, the mullah is carried away by the logic of his presentation. "You are right," he declares. The second man indignantly demands to be allowed to make his case. He too is so eloquent and persuasive that the mullah declares that he is right. At this point, the mullah's wife intervenes. "How can you say that?" she said. "They can't both be right." "You're right too," answers Nasruddin. Kind of a little bit about pick and mix religion in a way that that resonated with me. We humans have a hard time recognising that the world can contain other realities than the one we inhabit. We don't readily see that we can be right and they can be right too, whoever they may be. We seem to feel that our standards should apply to everyone. These types of fixed beliefs may have helped our communities in the past, but now they're just dangerous. That is where Unitarianism and Unitarians can make a difference. We are proof that a pick and mix view of religion can provide a safe place to explore our beliefs. It won't suit everyone, and some people will come and go. Kim Turner, a fourth-generation Unitarian who served as president of the Canadian Unitarian Council, sees her church as a forum in which people can be religious without the trappings of religion. "There are no absolutes here," she said. "We're open to the belief that people can make their own decisions." That explains why one of the more popular programs in Unitarian churches is called Build Your Own Theology. Unitarianism attracts a wide range of followers, including Buddhists, pagans, agnostics, those in mixed marriages. I assume when I wrote this, meaning mixed religious marriages, disaffected Christians, and even atheists like me. They're all looking for the same thing, some kind of spiritual fulfillment in a communal atmosphere. As one Unitarian minister in British Columbia has put it, neither we nor most traditional Christian groups would look on us as a Christian group. This is a religion in which we want to be able to feel intellectually comfortable as well as spiritually comfortable with our beliefs. On the other hand, because we end up welcoming any form of recognisable religion, what is the unity that will hold us together? Can the net contain all that diversity, that pick and mix? Well, that's a topic for some other time. So please make yourself comfortable. Perhaps close your eyes. We're going to have a meditation. I'm going to read a short meditation, followed by some quiet music from Frank. This meditation's written by Barbara Hamilton Holway. Let there be a quiet time among us, spirit of life in us and around us. Here is our chance once again to live like we wish the world would live. May we find within ourselves the courage to be who we are. May we know when it's time to listen and when it's time to speak. May we trust ourselves to be the ones to find the words that need to be said or to do what needs to be done. May we trust one another and know there are many ways to go through life. May we know that though we cannot change some of what life gives us, we can choose how we deal with what we're given. We're coming into our power, and together we can make possible justice and love. We are all connected. We depend upon one another more than we know. We are one body. My closing words are by T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time.